This is my sketch illustration of Thanos, and today I'm going to guide you through each of the steps so that you could draw this yourself. So grab a pencil and paper and let's get started. Welcome back everyone, and thanks for joining me today. For this lesson, we'll need our 0.7mm mechanical pencil with a 2B graphite stick. Now if you don't have a mechanical pencil, anything you have around the house will work just fine. Now I chose a subject that has a lot of expression and facial features so that we can develop our skills in layering in all those details. So we want to start by setting up a drawing with a series of guidelines. Let's start at the very top of our page, right in the middle. Just going to lightly work our way down, just drawing the straight line, all the way down towards the bottom. Now let's go back up to the top, draw another line going across from left to right. Let's use these two lines to help us create a circle along the top of our page to define the size of the skull. So from that center point, we're going to move up to right about here. Just going to mark off the top. Let's measure that distance from the center down towards the bottom. So right here, it's going to mark that off again. Now we want to do that same thing across this horizontal line. So measuring the distance from the center over toward the left and then the right side. And now we just want to connect the center point of each mark with a curve to create our circle. And the circle doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just using this as a guide, and we can always go back and just smooth this out as best we can. Now with our circle in place, let's add two more guidelines coming down the side. So start with the left, coming down. Do the same thing on the right. I'm not pressing too dark because I want to eventually be able to erase this out. Let's draw one more line going across the bottom of our circle. Now with our circle and guidelines in place, we want to start layering in the key facial features. Let's start by bringing the eyes down halfway along the center of our circle and the bottom, so right here. We're just going to rotate the head so the eyes appear lower in that circle. Going across. And I want to create a gap in between the eyes. So from that center line, step over toward the left, draw a straight line coming down. Let's measure that same distance over towards the right. Now from these 2 points, this is where the brow will start. So I just want to angle the eyes going up and then out. Let's go to the bottom of our circle. Just going to sketch a small circle in the center for the nose. And then on the sides, let's add another half circle. From the bottom of the nose, we're going to locate the center of the mouth. So right about here, I'm going to draw a straight line going across. And then we're going to go to the side of the nose. We want to add that fold. We go down and then out toward the left and right. And this will define the width of the mouth. So right here, from the corners of the mouth, draw two straight lines coming down, all the way down towards the bottom. Now I'm just going to block off the bottom of the chin. Now we can always modify the distance later. We're just going to block this out roughly. From the bottom corner of the chin, let's angle this back up towards that mouth line, towards this line here. Now because the head's rotated down, the ears are going to appear a little bit higher on the side of the head. So let's start right here on the side of our circle, goes around and then in. Just a little half circle on the side. And we're just defining the space of the ears. From the base of the ear, let's angle the neck. So it gets wider as it comes down. And then from the top, let's slope the shoulders, coming down and then out. Now that we have a rough block out, let's go back and lightly clean this up by erasing some of those key guidelines. And once you finish cleaning up our drawing, I'm going to go back and use this rough sketch as a guide to help us layer on some more details and refine the shapes. Now I always like to start with the eyes, with the inside edge of the brow. From these 2 points, I'm going to curve the brow, coming in and then up. I'm just going to add a slight fold with a curve in between. Let's add some shape to the brow. Just going to curve this around and then up. Just bringing that up, fade that out. Now let's tuck the eyes in underneath. So from the top of the brow, bend this in and then down, going towards the edge of the nose. Angle the eye, coming down and out. Slope this down the side. Let's draw the bottom of the eye, coming down and then in on both sides. Bring that out a little bit further. Now we could tuck the iris and pupil underneath the eyelid. So just going to lightly add that in. We can come back and just adjust the placement later. If it's too close, just pull that out. Now let's draw a smaller circle in the center and just darken up the middle of the pupil, just so we can see the placement. Now from here, we're going to work our way down towards the nose. So start by flaring out the nostrils. It's going to darken up the inside of the nostril coming down. And it'll draw that skin around the side of the nose. Now I'm just going to add a thick fold underneath the eyes, coming down and then out. So just curving this around, kind of around the base of the eyeball. We'll extend that fold coming down the side. Now from here, let's add that fold. And extend this out and then down, just giving a bit of a curve towards the corners of the mouth. Now right in the middle, I want to add that little divot that comes down toward the lip and then back up, almost like a raindrop shape. Let's add some shape to the mouth. Dip this down in the middle, bend that out towards the corners, and then add a fold. Let's add the upper lip. And then lower lip, coming in towards the middle. And from the mouth, we can add some of those lines going up on the top, and from the chin coming down. Bend these out along the side, also adding some going across the cheeks. Now I'm just going to enhance the cheeks with a curve coming down along the side, down around the cheeks, and then in. Now I'm going to go back and just add a little bit more shape to the outside of the head. Coming down towards the jaw, and round out the jaw, coming down towards the chin. Now I want to round out the sharp corners of the chin. And just add some of those lines going up. Now I want to modify the top of the head. So we want to bring this down a little bit lower. Just going to angle the head going up along the side so it tapers in. Just round out the skull, up towards the middle. And I can adjust this to taste, so if you want it a little bit higher, you can go higher or lower. But I prefer to bring that down a little bit more. And then we're going to add some more shape to the ears, just working within that bounding area that we created. And just adding some of those little details inside. So the fold and that hook along the inside. And now we're just going to add a little more shape to the neck coming down. Add the collar. Bring the shoulders down a little bit lower. Let's go back and do another cleanup so we can get a better look at our proportions before we get into the detail pass. And once we finished our rough sketch, I'm going to go in and start detailing out our contours. So I want to start back at the eyes, just darkening up the contours of the lines, and working our way across the brow. Now along the way, I'm just going to add some more detail, just some folds going around the brow. And then the eyes. I'm just going to add some details, working our way out from the eyes. Just some more wrinkles and folds. And then if we're happy with the placement of the iris and pupil, we'll just go back in and darken that up. On the sides, darken up the pupil. Now over on the left side of the eyes, we're going to add a small circle for a highlight. Let's darken up the top of the iris, going around that highlight, and then fade that down to create a bit of a glare. I'm just going to layer those markings across the lip and just fading that out. And I'm going to continue those lines going up across the cheeks. Got a little bit of texture across the lower lip with these lines going across from left to right. And this is just the base layer. Just going to add some more detail on top after. Now with the upper lip, we're just going to darken this up by adding some more texture in between. Set some more cracks around the eye. I'm just adding a little bit of a bump along the bottom of each ridge. Just tapering that up. So those lines are thicker along the bottom, and then we'll just taper that up. I'm using my 0.9mm to add some more contrast to the outside perimeter of the head. And now I'm going to use the side edge of my pencil to add some shadows. So we're going to darken up that upper lip. And then for the lower lip, I'm just going to fade those lines coming down. So this area is going to get pushed into shadow. And for the chin, we're going to add the shadow going up. Now the nose is going to cast a shadow coming down towards the mouth. So from the side, we're just going to pull this down with a straight line. Just going to darken up that center area. Just staying within that shadow area. Darken up that center divot. Let's darken up the cheeks and then fade that down. I'm just going to lightly trace out the edge of the shadow going around the eyes, so the little bounding area, and then go back in and shade the inside. And then the head's going to cast a shadow across the neck, but we're going to pull this down at an angle. So the light source is on the top left side of our page going across. You want to darken up the top, going around the face, and then fading that down. Now as we get closer to the end, I'm just going to tighten up my shadows and details, and always be sure to sign my artwork, and that's pretty much it. There's a sketch illustration of Thanos. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you did, you might want to check out this video over here. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.